What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Ready Player 2 video. This is of course the sequel to the Ready Player 1 book that also had a movie. And wow, if you hated the movie and if you hated the first book, you are absolutely going to despise this sequel, which is essentially Ready Player references, or oh, I see you're a Redditor, ring-a-ding-ding, the book. Just to preface this, I did enjoy the first book at face value. I read it before the movie came out, as I absolutely adore the Spielberg backlog and think that Super 8 is a severely underrated movie from a time before mega franchises. If only we gave a new IP a chance, we wouldn't have a billion different Fast and the Furious movies. Criticisms of the first book and movie range from way over the top levels of pop culture references to the protagonist managing to propel himself out of poverty by simply remembering pop culture trivia, essentially going from Netflix binger to Elon Musk in a few years. It's a borderline problematic story, and in some people's eyes, on the extreme level, they feel that it is self-flagellation for white male pop culture addicts, but in my opinion it's just Reddit the movie here. The book was an interesting idea at least, but was average. It was enjoyable in some places. However, the sequel with the minus 50 IQ title of Ready Player 2, which is not the only unimaginative part of this sequel, exposes the lack of talent of Ernest Cline, and well, it also exposes that Ready Player 1 was an absolute sheer fluke, with a nice idea but an absolute atrocious execution. There will be light book spoilers here, so please do be warned. And even if I did enjoy the movie, which I didn't, I thought it was just the worst movie I think I've seen in a long time, I would find it hard to think, where the hell can this franchise go? Well, The Ghost of Halliday presents a brand new Easter egg hunt. This time, it's only for Wade, because he's the special boy who won the virtual reality Charlie and the Chocolate Factory style competition. However, he has absolutely lost his edge and does some scummy stuff to find the Easter eggs after having backdoor access to everyone's cameras and data, as there is a new Oasis-style VR machine that connects to your synapses. So it is essentially what Elon Musk wants. It's that little chip that will go into your brain. The writing is absolute peak Ernest Cline, as it reads like so, and full credit to @Jacob Mercy on Twitter for these screen grabs. Now, as you're looking on the screen there, yes, that is indeed a page from the book. The absolute sheer amount of references here is beyond parody, and yes, it does not stop. There are some points where the group who had the wealth shared amongst them all look after the company themselves from the first book, but those meetings also descend into parody of its own. Now, one day someone will create a reference per minute stat for this book, but it gets worse, as a character or reference will happen only for the main character to go, oh what? It's this actor from this movie? He was supposed to be this actor in this movie. It is literally, actually, the character. He finds the Oasis VR upgrade that, like I said, allows someone to literally live other people's lives, and well, what does he do? Despite the warnings that if he releases it to the public, not only will it affect people's brains just like the internet has and social media, but it will also physically actually affect them, because it can cause brain damage. Now, his absolute cavalier attitude to releasing this without even testing it absolutely disgusted his girlfriend, Artemis, from the first book, and they had a very cringe description of their first sexual encounter. And she says that, well, what are you going to do? Why are you doing this? It is beyond dangerous to release this to young children, let alone adults. How dare she criticize his savior complex that could possibly put people in a coma? He seemingly thinks that it's a good idea because, well, people won't be having sex, thus there is no STDs or spread of a virus. Yes, it is a thinly veiled COVID shoehorn in there. Now, they split up and she becomes a rock star philanthropist. He only starts to donate to charity when Artemis exposes him in the media for releasing this dangerous product, and he becomes so angry and jealous that she is so popular with the public. He can't seem to connect with the public and kind of turns into a sort of Mark Zuckerberg robot character. And like I said, he only does this, but then he secretly uses the company's funds to build a rocket to leave the planet as a plan B. He is absolutely childlike. He thinks that I'm going to build a SpaceX style rocket and we're going to leave the planet. That will solve everything while we leave the planet to rot, as he doesn't really do anything. He physically cannot comprehend why Artemis would visit really grief and poverty-stricken places in person when you can just zoom at poor people. Yes, that is just absolutely, it blows my mind at the level of writing in this book. And it seems like this is written by someone and for someone who would absolutely do that soy boy face at anything Elon Musk does while ignoring his scummy persona and business practices. But my friends, it gets worse. Mr. Klein has somehow written possibly the worst portrayal of both a trans person and a rationale for accepting trans people. And he wrote this, which I'm going to put up on the screen now. Well, yes, shall we unpack this absolute mess? This character provided a hint to Wade as he struggled with finding the Easter eggs that he's been given as he tries to live on and live out the legacy of Halliday. And yes, there's not really any explanation as to why this new Easter egg hunt happens, it just happens. Now, he spied on her Easter egg hunt group as he becomes jealous that he has lost his edge, and he looked into the person's private history. The writing here essentially says that, hey, I know you're trans, but yeah, I'd have sex with you. I mean, I've perused trans and gay porn, and I totally think it's okay to be non-binary or whatever. It also essentially equates to saying, I've played females in video games, I know what it's like to be trapped in a different body. It is somehow, I think, more offensive than just saying I identify as an attack helicopter. This is just something else. I was reading it and I was just thinking, why did this happen? And I would love to hear more viewpoints on this because it just seems beyond ridiculous. Now, I can accept the references, but the riddles to find each one of these new Easter eggs is basically if the Goblet of Fire riddles in Harry Potter never frickin' ended. It is as if he literally had the Triwizard Tournament for the whole of the book, and well, the riddles, they spent entire hours finding them. They're awful and contrived, and we spend 3 chapters in a world created out of John Hughes. It is ridiculous, and Artemis laments that there are no people of colour. And, well, she says that just like 80s movies, that is that. There's no kind of critique or anything. She then kills Ducky from 16 Candles because he wouldn't leave Molly Ringwald's character alone in the movie. Ernest sure loves the White Knight fantasy, which is all this book is. It's a power fantasy for a limp-dicked nerd. This arc in the book is seemingly never ending. There is a reference upon reference upon reference of how Robert Downey Jr. was going to play Ducky, but he played this role instead, and it just reads like the IMDb trivia page. It is nauseating, and it's like someone had made an AI bot parody to rewrite Ready Player One. All of this is set to the backdrop of a rampant AI that is threatening to kill people connected to the Oasis using the new Synapse device because humans poisoned the planet. Yes, that trope. Even the dang plot is a reference to not only Terminator or Thanos, but do they warn the public? No, they hide this in the T's and C's of their new device that they've made $1 trillion from, and pay people off with not a single sense of irony. The protagonist has had this rags to riches tale in the first book and movie, but he hasn't really learnt anything after being thrust into the most powerful position in the world as a sort of adapting to the life of instant riches and power and mega corporations ethics is thrust to the side for a safe story about hunting for a legacy, which is not only a carbon copy of the first book, except this time he has friends helping him, and he's also doing this because he is in the friend zone with his ex, all the while spying on trans people because he thinks trans porn is hot. Wait, isn't this supposed to be a kid's book, an homage to Ender's Game and the other young adult legends? No. Instead, it's a simplistic saviour story with a man rebuked by his girlfriend as he unleashed a dangerous product on the world and cannot understand that no means no. Yes, Ready Player 2 is possibly the worst piece of fan fiction of all of pop culture I have ever had the misfortune to read. It is just terrible. And please do not buy this so they make a second movie, because I cannot stand the second movie being made. I think I would just walk into the sea. But that is it. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.